welcome to my channel. I'm here to do a reading for the signs by rising sign for this new moon in Virgo. So let's talk a little bit about what that means for the collective, so everybody can expect possibly some fresh new ideas, fresh starts around Virgoan things, right? Maybe some new organization, new health, beginning for your health, new health practices that you're adopting, possibly some, James thinks I'm talking about him because we're talking about Virgos, which I am. He's a Virgo. Also can mean, some new health or fitness routines, okay? New organization, it can be, a new period, a time of you moving into, being of service, right? Virgo is, often thought of the person who is always helping others, doing for others, maybe some new writing. It is Mercury ruled. We often assign mercurial things to Gemini, but Virgo is also ruled by Mercury. And new moons often signify fresh starts, beginnings, okay? It is also square Mars and Gemini. So Mars and Gemini, this transit that we're experiencing can sometimes bring up some tough communication, right? And we also have Mercury retrograde coming up. So really, and it's interesting because, again, Virgo is ruled by Mercury, Gemini is ruled by Mercury, so everything is very mercurial right now, right? So really watching out for the way that we are communicating things, how we're trying to get things across, being understanding of plans that don't work out, thinking before we're taking action on these plans. We might be taking some steps toward, our passions and putting plans in motion for that, but it might feel like one step forward and two steps back because of not just Mars and Gemini, but also because of this upcoming Mercury retrograde. So I'm going to run through the signs by rising so we can talk about what house this is happening for you, and then we're going to pull some cards of advice, okay? So Virgo risings, okay, you can also listen for your sun and moon for extra information, but for Virgo risings, this new moon is going to happen in your first house. So usually when we have a new moon or any moon shift change happening in your own sign, right, it's really impactful. So the first house is the house of self, the house of appearance, the house of how we present ourselves and first impressions, okay? Often the first house can also have to do with health, which isn't often talked about. So it's usually reserved for the sixth house, but the first house also has a little bit to do with our health. The advice here, lion, courage, ask for what you want. So Virgo risings, again, we have that Mercury, that double Mercury in play. So it might be, you might feel and see this new moon that you're speaking up for yourself, standing up for yourself, using that voice, finding new and better ways to communicate what it is you want from people. And again, with that Mars and Gemini, we have to watch for, how harshly we're communicating things. Mars can be kind of harsh and brass and, want what it wants now, okay? And, Gemini is it's all about communicating, so finding how, better ways to communicate wanting what we want now. And also with Mercury about to be in retrograde and that shadow period here, keeping in mind that what it is that we want, has to be worked for and plans have to be set in motion. And this might be the time to plan the communication and not necessarily express it just yet. Of course, do what resonates for you, but making sure that whatever it is you want to say, you're, saying in the way that you want to say it. And, it's all in the way you say things, especially if you're, asking other people for something. Okay, that one just flew out. So Master, Ancestor, DNA, these are the ancestor cards for Virgo rising, adaptation. Okay, so it feels like this new moon for Virgo risings, in Virgo, Cancer often gets all the credit for being like the mother of the zodiac, but Virgo is also very motherly, right? The caretaker. And so I feel like a lot of energy coming from your ancestors from this card. So there may be some, like reconnecting to who you are and who yourself is through your own ancestry, right? You're, of course, your own individual person, and that's the first house. But how are you connected to your ancestors, right? There may be some desire to communicate with them in some way, whether that is, through different ways. Obviously, not our ancestors are alive, but that doesn't mean we can't set altars for them and communicate with them. And there also feels like a strong sense of needing to adapt to anything that may not pan out as you were hoping it would, because of that Mercury retrograde coming up. It's going to be, we're kind of in the shadow period, about to be in the shadow period. Depends on who you ask. Depends on how fast Mercury's moving, which I haven't checked. But so it depends on a couple of things, but definitely with that coming up, we're feeling it. I believe it is retrograde beginning September 9th. So, starting to feel that and really rolling with the punches, adapting, but also making sure that, your priority is that eventually you're getting across this message of what it is you want and need to. And Virgo can have a tendency to leave them out, to leave themselves out of the equation. Maybe the dark side of Virgo is that they're a little bit of a martyr, right? So how can anybody know what it is that you want if you haven't asked, if you haven't properly communicated that? Okay, Virgo risings. So now we're going to move on to Libra risings. This new moon is occurring in your 12th house, so it might feel even like a little bit more like a full moon. So anytime there's a new moon in the 12th house, the 12th house rules endings, closures. Sometimes it can rule over institutions. It can rule over our self-deprecating thoughts. I have also done a lot of research around, I was just thinking about, what if two cards pop up? That's not fair. We're just going to roll with it. I've done a lot of research around the fact that the 12th house is our experience in the womb, so pre-birth, and also past life karma. So, this might be a time where you feel like you're going inward, Libra, right? Where you're spending a lot of time alone. Sometimes that can be depending on what other things you have going on in the chart. But if you have heavy Libra, you might always feel the need to connect and bounce things off another person for balance. But this, new moon may see you really pulling into yourself and spending some quiet alone time, and that's okay. Also maybe doing things like getting massages and anything that's spiritually healing, healing to the body. Okay, so you got Moose, authority. You know what is best for you, so perfect. This really goes along with having the new moon in the 12th house, because again, if you may not resonate with this if maybe you just have one, only rising in Libra, or there's other things in your chart that if you want a chart reading, we can do that and see more specifically. But, typically for people who have lots of Libra energy, it's like they always want to, for balance, right? They're always wanting balance, and it rules over the 7th house of partnerships and other people. So there may be this desire to always go to others, right? Always feeling like you need a teacher or a guru, when in reality, in the end of all ends, in the end of everything, when it really comes down to it, you are your own authority on things. So really using this time, this new moon time, if it resonates with you, to really, take a bath, take the night off alone, maybe not join some more social thing that you were thinking about, and you may just be feeling this naturally. Of course, do what resonates for you. If you want to go do the more social thing, you can, but just remembering what it is that you really think about it, okay? And koala empathy, speak less, listen more. I think that this really has to do with trying to get everybody's opinion and really quieting yourself enough to listen to your own. You are your own authority. Really just getting lots of messages right now for these Libra risings to take time alone as that resonates with you, because you often feel called to listen to other people's chatter, other people's opinion. That's great usually, but this new moon may really be calling you, within yourself to withdraw. And we do have that Mars in Gemini and, almost Mercury retrograde. So if people in your life aren't vibing with you taking this alone time, thinking about a soft way to communicate that you really need it and you'll be back when you're ready. Okay, so speaking less and listening more is, quieting the noise outside and listening more to your own intuition. I'm feeling like not necessarily, sometimes when this card comes up, it's about listening to other people. Not feeling that for you. I think it's about, speaking less to other people about what, their thoughts are and what they think on the matter, and listening more to your own intuition. Okay? We'll pull an ancestor card for you, Libra risings. Gardener, cultivation, right? So, I don't know if I mentioned like meditation. That can be thought of as a 12th house thing, going within, quieting the mind. And there's so many different forms of meditation. So please don't take this as it has to be like the typical one that bores you or doesn't work for you. But cultivating a practice, right? Planting the seeds for the future, so it's not just this one transit where you're going within and taking time. You really have the tools and resources to always be able to kind of step away from outside voices and listen to the voice within, right? Cultivating a quiet practice for yourself. And I'm hearing cultivating a practice alone, cultivating something solo, right? You're your true authority, making time to listen to that true authority in your life and taking the time to, putting this time in now so that it's easier along the way, easier in your life in the future, okay? That's what really felt like it was coming through for you. Libra rising, and I really feel like these flowers and this butterfly is standing out. You are one of the signs that rules over beauty, and so maybe whatever kind of retreat, you're having this new moon in the 12th house. The 12th house can often be thought of as retreats. It can also be thought of, people say this about the 9th, but also the 12th, of long distance travel. So if you can't really go anywhere, creating a retreat within your home or something like that with yourself, going somewhere local, or it may find you going overseas or out of the country, surrounding yourself with some beauty and also some solo time. Okay, Scorpio, this new moon is happening in your 11th house of fame, of community on a grander scheme, right? 3rd house is a little more local community. 11th house is like, bigger community. It can be online community. It rules over social media. It also rules over our biggest dreams, those big dreams that we often see as impossible, okay? So you got antelope, decisiveness, make a decision and take appropriate action. Okay, so maybe you have been kind of back and forth about what it is, how you want to move forward with these big dreams, or probably maybe social media presence, or how you are a part of a greater community maybe humanitarian efforts, because that rules over the 11th house as well. And, you know, like I said, this whole new moon is very, you know, square to Mars in Gemini, so very, like, forceful, aggressive, mercurial ruled. So there might be a lot of, you know, your passions may, you know, be really struck up with this transit, but Mercury can also really overtake the mind. And maybe those of you who have, like, big 3 or stelliums in Mercury or in the 6th house or 3rd house can agree that, you know, you can really be overcome with thoughts, with intrusive thoughts, with distorted thinking. You can really get stuck in the mind a lot. So really, you know, taking this time to choose a way, choose a path. And what I'm hearing is, you know, moving one way or the other doesn't mean that you're forever shutting out this other opportunity or choice to change directions in the future, right? That's still an opportunity for you. You're not closing the door if there's some fear on that, for you to do so, right? Yeah, and just kind of, you know, keeping that in mind, that it's okay to set your sights on something. Mercury can cause us to change our minds, maybe sometimes a lot. Mercury moves really fast and just can be all over the place, right? So, you know, deciding what's best for you in the now and taking those steps to move forward. Let's check into the ancestral message. Whoop. And one of the rulers, you know, depending on what type of astrology that you work with, if you do, Mars can rule over Scorpio too. So just keeping that in mind. Yeah, and you know, Scorpio's a very passionate sign, okay? So there may be, you got the ancestor call, peacekeeper, serenity, right? So you may need to implement a lot of, like, calmness around this new moon in order to make this decision. You know, with Mars in Gemini and with the almost Mercury retrograde, there can be a lot of miscommunication and aggressive. Mars in Gemini is like aggressive communication, right? So trying to be the peacekeeper in whatever way you can, not that you necessarily have to, like, you know, keep peace for toxic family and within toxic family, but just within the circumstances and situations that you are in, remembering to, you know, allow your communication to come from a place of calm when possible, right? Also got words, writer, so there may be something that you want to communicate via social media this new moon, right? Communicate to the larger community. Maybe that's the decision that you have to make, choosing your words wisely, you know, editing. I'm not really in the camp of people that believes that you can't release anything or publish anything during Mercury retrograde, but keeping in mind that it may require lots of effort, edits, and that you might have to, you know, have a lot of do-overs or restarts around this time, because sometimes that's what can come up. But that certainly doesn't mean that you can't put it out there, you can't publish. And maybe, you know, what you are sharing, the words that you want to share, or possibly writing that you want to share, is about, you know, keeping the peace. We have a lot of divisiveness going on in the world, and maybe you're really feeling like you are neutral and you want to add your neutral opinion to a specific situation and thing that's happening in the world. So yeah, don't hold back because of these transits necessarily, but do your due diligence, editing, and just making sure that your words are your words and they feel, you know, resonant and like you, right? But yeah, go ahead, make that decision. You know, I feel like maybe there's some waffling going on, or some not knowing which way to go. And just by choosing one way doesn't mean you're forever shutting the door on another way, right? I mean, some of our choices end up like that. But it's usually like things that are in the now, right? You can always, choose the other choice later. Okay, Sagittarius, this new moon will be occurring in your 10th house, so public image and career choices, right? You got Beaver, productiveness, just go ahead and do it. So maybe it is a new moon, right? So maybe this is about a new career choice. Maybe you're changing career paths. Maybe you want to kind of change your public image and how the public sees you, right? And again, you don't have to be like a huge public figure in order for this to apply to you, because we all have a public image, right? Some are greater than others. If you have a lot of planets in the 10th and 11th house, then you may be, more someone who's kind of like out in the world, publicly on social media, famous in some way, in the spotlight, and that could be 5th house too. Yeah, so really taking this new moon to allow yourself to begin this fresh start. Often when we are in line with the moon cycles, it's like we get that extra boost. Not to say that we can't start new things on, a quarter moon or a full moon, but we're just getting that extra boost of excitement, of freshness, right? Unless maybe it's happening in our 12th house and we need some endings and some shedding first. But kind of really writing these vibes. And also, this new moon you may feel that you are really productive when it comes to your career. Now that's different than 6th house is like daily grind, day job. 10th house is career, aspirations and dreams, kind of more long-term career goals that you have. So you may feel like really getting to work, right? Getting busy as a beaver on your personal business, okay? So really like, and it is a Virgo new moon, so it might even feel even more potent, right? This desire to check tasks off, to get things done. Just remember with this Mars and Gemini and this almost Mercury retrograde, that you're not missing something, or just keep in mind, that it's possible that you will have to go back and redo some things or do something that you forgot, right? If you're missing something as far as what these steps to move forward on your career will take. So just keep that in mind. And usually, I don't like to fear Mercury retrograde. It's just mostly about like keeping in mind that it may be some do-overs, right? It's usually like the feelings that brings up, or the anger, right? Because if we weren't angry and we were just like, okay, I'm going to do this over, wouldn't be a problem, right? It's usually like the human in us that has the problem. It's not like the redo that's such a problem, right? It's the fact that we just don't want to take the time. But remember, when we take the time to do our due diligence and do things right in the first place, right? So really having like a process, a schedule, a routine, which is very 6th house and Virgoan, having that routine about what steps you need to take to be more productive when it comes to your career aspirations, okay? You also got warrior, boundaries, so this feels like it's coming across that, if these are really your career goals and aspirations, you likely need to create boundaries, not just like with other people, but with yourself, around how much time and commitment you're going to put toward this. Are you spending a couple hours a day watching Netflix when you could be putting those couple of hours a day towards your career goal and aspirations, the shifts and changes that you want to make to your public image? Because we need boundaries in place, not just with other people, but with ourselves. Now, it may be boundaries that you have to put in place with other people. Again, with Mars and Gemini and Mercury almost retrograde, really taking the time and taking a beat instead of, being forceful and aggressive in communicating these boundaries and saying, hey, like, I really love spending time with you. I really love doing this thing with you, but I'm really going to have to pull back because I have to be more productive and make this dream of mine a reality, right? Okay. Now, Capricorn. So Capricorn, new moon in Virgo. For you, it's going to happen in your 9th house of publishing, of greater knowledge. Often it's thought of as like the college, right? But it doesn't, the house of, you know, that kind of learning, because 3rd house is more like when we were younger. It covers education when we were younger. You know, sometimes it can. It's also, you know, our beliefs, what we spiritually believe in. Some say that it's the house of our ancestors. There's lots of houses that are spread up of our ancestors, though. So Capricorn, Badger, perseverance, dig in and see it through to completion. Yes, I know a Capricorn rising who is working on a book to publish. So this new moon may really give you that extra boost or bump, right? That motivation that you need to see something through. Maybe you're getting your degree, okay? Again, 9th house rules over kind of greater knowledge. It's also can be the house of overseas travel. So maybe, you know, the something that you have to see through to completion is something to do with overseas, learning a different language, publishing something in a different language. Yeah, so, you know, new moons, or maybe you're starting something, right? I'm getting kind of both vibes here, like people who have something that they've been working on in this new moon will be a boost for you, Capricorn risings, to really see it through to the end. And that's often what's required, right? Like perseverance, continue, keep going. So if you have been feeling like, I'm never going to finish this book, I'm never going to finish this painting, I'm never going to finish this project, this art sculpture, right? This piece that I'm working on, this quilt that I'm sewing, you know, really hitting the gas, right? You know, using whatever language, you know, that you need with yourself and to yourself to see this through, right? This project, this thing, this schooling, this certificate, this thing that you may be publishing, right? Deserves you to see it through to the end. And you may not always feel so motivated, and these are kind of like the times where you really have to like dig your heels in and finish, right? There may be, you know, some feeling of slowness because we're almost in Mercury retrograde shadow, but I'm not really feeling this for the Cap risings. And that Mars and Gemini might give you that push forward that you need to, because Mars can be quite aggressive and really goes after what it wants. And Mars rules over our passions, so going after those passions more steadily with this help of the new moon in Virgo. And, you know, maybe it might require some shifts around your schedule, some shifts around like what you're prioritizing, okay? Yes, Saturn asks for structure, but really Mercury and Virgo, you know, if Virgo really asks for you to have a schedule, to, you know, see the finer details in things and really make a routine for yourself to actually finish this, okay? You also got Spirit Guide Shaman with the beautiful hummingbird, okay? So, you know, this, yeah, some of you may be going abroad and or just bringing more knowledge into your home where you are, that is shamanic, that is kind of like a mentor in essence. You know, Sagittarius rules the 9th house and is often thought of the professor, right? The teacher, the guide. 9th house also rules like different spiritual sects, so it can be a spiritual guide, a spiritual teacher, a shaman. So you may be reaching out to one. You may find one, and there's so many ways to find one. You don't have to go across the world to find one. You can find one through books, you can find one through YouTube videos, right? But one may appear to you. I'm also hearing that may appear to you to help you see these things through to completion that you needed and want to see through, right? So that is a possibility too. Yeah, you may be looking for, we all, if you believe in it and it resonates with you, we all have our own spirit guides. So it could be something as simple, well, not just so simple, but powerful as using cards, oracle cards, to connect, to get quiet, to listen to your spiritual guides. Maybe somewhat, the new moon in Virgo for you may be somewhat of a time of taking a spiritual journey in a sense. And again, it doesn't have to actually be a physical one. Okay? Aquarius risings, this new moon is happening in your 8th house of sex, death, and taxes. That's what it's famously called. It's one of the houses, or the house, depending on who you ask, that rules astrology, the occult. So, things like astrology and oracle cards. It also rules inheritances and other people's money. So you may be, you may see shifts in kind of any shared agreements that you have with other people. There may be some fresh starts for you all in something, that's kind of has already been in place or will be put in place regarding other people's money, and that can manifest in so many different ways. You could be a sports agent, right? You can be, an accountant, right? Working with other people's money, or maybe it's you and a partner's money, a family member's money. So you got Coyote, Wise Fool, accept your follies and find their teaching in them. Find your teaching in them. So trying to kind of listen into what I'm feeling for this and hearing. Yeah, so, what I'm hearing for the Aquarius risings is that this new moon may hit on some ways that you can improve some past things in the area of shared resources and money, because that's what the 8th house entails, right? What have you learned from your past, and can you make a fresh start around moving forward? Okay, say you lost somebody in your life and they didn't have a will, and you saw like what a mess that was for the family, and so you may be inspired to create a will, right? So kind of things like that, and that's not necessarily like a lesson that you personally got, or maybe you did personally get that lesson and now you feel inspired to kind of put that in motion. It's also, the energy, just looking at the image of the coyote, is, understanding and knowing your surroundings, knowing what you're really dealing with, taking the time to really assess. And I think with Mercury almost going retrograde, like maybe there can be some pullback for you around moving anything forward that feels rushed. So actually taking your time to slow down, to look around, to check your surroundings, to see what needs to be put in motion and what way it needs to be put in motion, like how you're going to move forward with your shared resources with somebody, or with your occult practices, your study of astrology. Maybe you do have an oracle card reading business, or it's something you want to start. Well, what is it, scanning the environment for the past lessons and any inclination that, not things that might go south, like you always have to be like hyper vigilant and worried about that, but checking your surroundings for what could possibly go wrong, so you can kind of, avoid that and prepare for the future better. Okay, let's see what ancestral card comes up for you, Aquarius rising. All right, so you got 2, You have presence, grandfather, okay? Yeah, so some of you might be feeling grandfather energy around you, like specifically a grandfather that you lost, or the wills, the shared resources might be from a grandfather. Okay, I felt that coming up. You also might just be feeling their presence a lot during this new moon. Maybe the lessons that are coming through from you, the ones that you are being asked to find teaching from, are from a male lineage, right? Or a masculine energy lineage. I'm kind of confused at what that is with the presence, so I kind of want to tap into that. Yeah, taking the time to be present, when you're doing these coyote things that we just talked about, like as you are looking around for what it is that you need to be mindful of and scanning your environment requires lots of presence. Okay? You have to be present to see how these shared resources, the vibe and the energy of the way that they are now, to be able to better prepare from the future and learn from any, mistakes or lessons from the past. Is anything really a mistake? You also got mentor, coach. So you may be finding yourself, looking for a mentor, needing some mentorship around 8th house things. So maybe an astrology mentor, right, to help you learn more about astrology. Maybe it's mentorship around the process of death, of life and death, right? I know that there are like death doulas and people that really help you plan these wills and things. So if that helps you resonate, and not just helps you plan wills, but helps you plan for the event that we are all moving toward, that we all eventually will reach, which is death. So that could be your own death, it could be the death of a grandfather, right? Preparing yourself for that, which may act as a father figure, I'm hearing. Maybe a mentor in helping you move through the death of a grandfather, and or, like I said, preparing for your own death. Okay, so Pisces, this new moon is going to fall for you in your 7th house of committed partnerships, business partners, and contracts. Okay, so you may see new fresh starts with that, maybe meeting a life partner, maybe taking, which you obviously wouldn't know at first, or you could be in the midst of a relationship and taking the next step, okay, to become more committed. Or it could be business partnership. So maybe you're deciding to go into business with somebody. You'll be signing new contracts. Maybe you're going to be reviewing those contracts. So hawk, focus, choose your priorities, and eliminate all distractions. Okay, so this contract or this committed relationship, around this new moon may be requiring more attention from you, right? Maybe your partner needs more attention than you've been able to give them. Maybe this business requires it. Maybe you're realizing that the solo business that you have, solo venture, solo work, is eating a lot of your time, and really you're trying to prioritize your family or vacations, and so you're wanting to bring in that partner to help balance those things out. Okay? We're almost in Mercury retrograde as I keep, drilling into all the rising signs minds, but so it's important to really look over this contract if it's going to be signed, review these things to really make sure that everything is stated that you want and need out of the deal. Wow, that came really fast. So, taking the time to go over things, taking the time to, maybe you do have a partner and it's a renegotiation time, remembering Mars is in Gemini, and, if there are new negotiations you want to move into with your contract, remembering to communicate those calmly and not aggressively, as there might be a tendency to do over the next several months with Mars and Gemini. Yeah, and you got father authority. So a really reminder that you're the authority on your own life. And so moving into a contract that's best for you. I'm also hearing for those who are, meeting a man, meeting a masculine, meeting a male energy, that they are possibly going to be in a committed relationship with, or that you are, is that, there's this real reminder here that oftentimes we go towards, whether we like it or not, we get in partnerships and relationships with people who mirror, issues that we have had with the father figure in our lives. Okay, so that felt like it was really coming through. Some of you may be going into business with your father, with the father side of your family. There may be some contracts between you and a male energy father figure in your family. And yes, just remembering again to review those, to make sure that your voice is heard in those, that your needs are clearly stated in that contract. And yeah, some of you may really recognize that the committed partnership that you're in is really, there may be some communication disagreements, some troubles communicating, some aggressive communication coming through with a, committed partner, whether that be business or otherwise, that mirrors a communication issue that you had with a father figure or have with a father figure. And that can be triggering. So kind of maybe moving through that with a coach or a therapist and kind of, just being aware of that and seeing what comes of it. Okay, Aries rising, this new moon is going to happen in your 6th house. So the things that were said about, health and routine are, kind of double for us, because I'm an Aries rising. So, there you may see focus on your health. You may see a new start to something that you're implementing health-wise, that you're also implementing and or implementing routine-wise, clearing clutter, organizing, having those health checkups, also maybe like fresh starts around pets or getting a pet. Okay, so we got hummingbird, joy, lighten up. Sometimes if I'm in a bad mood, I'll see this and be like, lighten up, you lighten up. But it really can be a reminder, like if you've been living in your head a lot, Aries rising, and been focusing on things that are more serious, taking that time to be playful and joyful, maybe playful and joyful with your pets, right? Finding joy, also I'm hearing, in routine. So many, especially Aries risings, like Aries in general, if you have lots of Aries energy in your chart, like they're not the best at routine, right? They get bored. We're Mars ruled. We like to switch things up. We like to move fast. We don't always like to take our time with routine, but this is coming as a reminder that like we can also find joy in our routines too. They don't have to be boring. We can find joy in a schedule. We can find joy in patterns, right? And doing our daily tasks, right? Because that's 6th house things, is kind of those daily tasks, maybe sometimes seem like menial, but we can, it comes as a reminder that we can create joy always. And how can we find joy in these menial tasks, in cleaning, in organizing? For me, it's like, I'm still putting together in my office, and I just hung up some pictures, and even though I don't love doing this and organizing and cleaning, it's just I realize there's so much joy in the end product of it when things are clean and put away, and I can look up around my room and see all my beautiful things that if I hadn't taken the time to clean and become, you know, orderly and organized, I would, you know, be missing for so much longer. Okay, Aries rising, let's see what the ancestral message for you is. So solidness, mineral, yeah, so this really goes back to that routine conversation, right? Like, it requires something solid, something consistent moving forward for us to, for you to build upon, right? You know, we can't move through the rest of the chart if we haven't, you know, I mean, we can, but it's great to master those sixth house things, right? The routine, the schedule, the completion of the menial tasks that we don't see as so important and see as boring, because it really creates a stronger foundation for us to move forward. Okay? You know, like, we want a new health routine or fitness routine. Well, it's like, we really want to put something solid in place to be able to do that, right? A gym membership, you know, a partner to go running with, a pool that we can join and go to swim, to get that exercise in, some supplements to help us, you know, on our path of, you know, journey toward better health, right? So really kind of finding this balance between finding joy in things, having fun with your routine, make it fun, implement things that are fun and joyful, because it's those things that are gonna stick. Okay, we Aries risings might also need more minerals in our diet. That felt like it was coming through too. So leafy greens, vegetables, adding some of those, maybe mineral supplements. I'm not like a huge fan of like tons of supplements, but whatever like resonates with you. If that struck a chord in you and you're like, oh my gosh, yes, I've been thinking about that, or that feels really good, then go for it. Usually we can eat our minerals, but if you want something extra, do it. Go for it. Okay, Taurus rising, this new moon is going to occur in your 5th house of creative passions, romance, like dating, flirting, also children, okay? Also reconnecting to the child within, okay? You got Swan, grace, appreciate the beauty inside and all around you. Taurus, you are a beauty ruled sign, so maybe you don't always have too much trouble with recognizing this, but I see this coming through as maybe starting an art project again, doing something artistic, and that can be in so many fields and ways. It doesn't have to be like painting, right, or sewing, or creating clothes or anything like that. It could be, you know, planting flowers. It could be, you know, cleaning things. It is a Virgo moon to make things beautiful again. It could be, you know, buying yourself like a new, picking flowers, getting yourself a new beautiful robe, okay? But because it is 5th house things, I do think it'll likely center around fresh newness around and beauty around romance. So, you know, maybe you're wanting to go back out and start dating again, and really like taking the time to allow things to be beautiful and romantic as you are dating, right? Maybe the last partner you had, they really lacked romance. So really making the effort to, you know, make things beautiful and romantic on your end, to create beauty in your dating life. Also appreciating the children in your life might be something that resonates with you. And then going back to, you know, your creative expression, you know, allowing yourself to take in what is around you in your immediate environment that is beautiful, to create and make new art, make things. And What else? There was something else like coming through too. Fifth house is also like recreation, so maybe it's about starting a new routine where you run, very Virgoan, right, for health, but running, you know, down by a lake that's just really beautiful, or running by the botanical gardens in your area, right? So like allowing for some beauty to come in with these new fresh starts around fifth house things, right? And Virgoan things. And let's see what the ancestral card is for you, Taurus rising. Life giver, earth. Okay, so this new moon may see you really reconnecting with the earth elements. It may have to do with you giving life to a child, right? Maybe this new moon sees you deciding that you want kids, remembering that you want kids, and kind of, you know, putting your life focus to that, okay? You could be starting a new garden, which would be really beautiful and allow you to enjoy all the beauty around you. But you giving life to someone or to something in some way, right? Giving life to your, to romance, right? Giving life to, you know, maybe new fresh starts again, going back to romance and dating, right? Because fifth house rules romance and dating, doesn't mean it couldn't evolve to seventh house committed partnerships, but because we're talking about fifth house, then you may see yourself, going back out into the dating world, or it's bringing new life into these committed partnerships, bringing romance into the current partnerships that you have. So fresh new starts, maybe you've been feeling like things are a little dull or they're not as romantic as they used to be, and so putting some effort into recreating that spark, as they say. Okay, Gemini, this new moon is going to be, James is getting fed up with me, I'm almost done, buddy. This new moon is going to be in your fourth house of, you know, fourth house is not just home and family and parents and ancestry, it's also our emotions, okay? So you could see fresh new start around that, fresh new starts, moving home, changing home, thinking about redecorating your home, could be about diving into your ancestry, working through things with your parents, or just, you know, working on, you know, expressing your emotions, balancing your emotions, not living so much in the head or the home, and, you know, bringing yourself out of it, okay? Or bringing yourself more into it if that's what resonates for you. So whale, soul's path, honor your soul's purpose. So yeah, we all have maybe a general purpose or purposes, but because this is fourth house, it could be a soul's purpose around becoming a parent, around becoming a mother, around, you know, inherited trauma resolution work around your mother's ancestry. The fourth house also rules the great grandparents on the mother's side, so maternal great grandparents. So diving into ancestry work there. And I'm getting really lots of feminine energy with this picture too, with the whale, with the water. So yeah, could be lots of new fresh starts around communication, watching that Mars in Gemini for aggression, watching that upcoming Mercury retrograde, and just remembering, you know, how it is you want to start this new fresh communication. And again, it doesn't have to be like, if they're no longer with you to communicate with, it doesn't mean you can't speak to them on a walk or set up an altar and do work with them and communicate with them in that way, right? Let's see what the ancestry card comes with. Also getting like strong ancestry with this card pull, and it's likely because for you Gemini risings, this does have to do with the mother, maybe a fresh start with the mother, and maybe that fresh start is that you don't communicate with them anymore. Of course, I know that's, you know, like last resort and doesn't always feel good, but whatever is healing for you and moving forward with any mother issues or feminine issues. Oh my goodness, look at this blue, right? This is really signifying to me, you know, we talked about how the fourth house rules emotions, deep emotions. You might find yourself really in the depths of working through deep emotions during this new moon. You might be pulling inward a lot. I'm getting like a feeling on, an intuition on. Yeah, that maybe there's even some sadness to move through with this new moon for you Gemini risings. And could be sadness around mother energy, sadness around female, feminine energy in the family. So the ancestral card you got, tree, is balance. So if I really feel like you're lacking that mothering support, one way you can really do that is to allow the earth to give it to you. Maybe you don't have a mother around you. Maybe she's just not near you now. She's gone. Maybe she's not approachable, not safe. So really like, and I love doing this, using a tree to support you, using a tree to lean back on, not just for balance, yes, for balance, but to feel held and supported the way that a mother would. Okay, maybe I'm also hearing like journaling, writing a letter, or something, and burying it near a tree, a letter that things you'd like to say to your mother, couldn't say to your mother, would love to say to your mother, aren't safe to say to your mother at this time. All feels really resonant. So some mother work, some ancestry work feels like it's likely or necessary, or at least that's bubbling up some other issues to move through with this new moon. But remember, it's certainly not all bad. This new moon is about fresh starts. So, maybe it's also, since it's a Virgo new moon, it's a fresh new practice where you go to communicate with your mother who's not with you, or a fresh new practice or routine around setting boundaries with the mother figure in your life. Okay, so Cancer rising, this is going to happen for you in your third house of local community, brothers, sisters, sometimes extended family, aunts and uncles, cousins, neighbors, written communication, okay? And sometimes electronics, some people say. So you got Fox, adaptability, adapt to the changes that are happening. So you might have some changes to your brother-sister relationship. You might have changes to your local community and what's going on in your neighborhood. Maybe changes with extended family, cousins, aunts and uncles. Now it is, we are, I'll say it again and again, that we are almost in Mercury retrograde, so just keeping that in mind, and that they're likely with Mercury retrograde sometimes there's setbacks, or there's things that don't work out the way that we thought. Okay, so there may be some like changes and things coming up that aren't the way that you thought they were going to be, and it's much better and easier to roll with these changes and to move into them instead of fight them, right? I really feel that coming through, and just staying ready, right? Staying calm, staying ready. There may be some aggressive communication with brothers, sisters, cousins, extended family coming up around this new moon, and just remembering to stay calm. The ancestor card for you, Cancer rising, is movement dancer. So yes, like staying steady with these changes, being willing to move and change when necessary. Maybe move neighborhoods, maybe change neighborhoods, right? And you didn't think that you were going to, but you have to for whatever reason. Might be coming up with the new moon, and it could play out as likely new moons do. It may not be right away. Being willing to adapt and to dance and to move. It's really interesting that these cards came up together, because I really see them from two different decks as very similar. Like, dance with the changes in your life. I don't even necessarily love this word, but I feel like it fits, and I can't think of another one. But being graceful with these changes, right? Allowing yourself to gracefully move into these changes, not for other people, but for yourself, right? Okay. Leo, this new moon is going to happen in your second house of resources, personal values, the way you value yourself, finances, and money. Otter, surrender, let go of control, okay? So in a way we do, control our finances and obviously what we value. We can't really control how other people value us, right? And how other people see us. Second house also just rules over our things, our stuff. So there may be some new changes to the way that you value your things and stuff. You may feel a little bit out of control when it comes to your things and stuff. And in a way, we're kind of not totally in control with our finances. But we are, but we aren't, right? Surrendering to the fact that it's all in flow, and allowing that abundance to come towards you as needed, right? The otter's just chilling, right? The otter just kind of is allowing things to come to them, allowing, the luck and the goodness and what's necessary to flow toward them. They're not trying to have a strong grip on everything. So kind of like releasing that tension and grip and letting what will be when it comes to those areas of your life, okay? Courage, hero, you also got from the ancestral deck. Yeah, so oftentimes it takes courage, in order to take a look at your values and to see if they're still really resonating with you, if you're surrounding yourself with people who have, who value the same thing as you, and it takes courage to admit that maybe they don't, and to have those conversations, take a step back from some of these people, and re-surround yourself with people who have, those similar values in common, right? I'm also hearing like you're your own hero when it comes to your finances, right? You can only save yourself. So if you've been feeling like they are out of control, because it's a Virgo new moon, this may see you start some new financial routines, new budgeting routines to get that all in line and in control for yourself, right? Also, maybe you need to reevaluate your value system, the way that you talk to yourself, okay? Maybe you need to streamline your resources, right? Maybe you need a better schedule or routine for, how you go about making your finances. All right, so that feels like it is complete. Happy new moon in Virgo. If you want a more personal reading, you can also, reach out to me, and I can definitely do either, oracle or chart or both for you. And yeah, just keeping that Mercury retrograde and Mars Gemini in mind. If you enjoyed this, like, comment, and or subscribe. I love to hear from you. And yeah, happy new moon in Virgo. I'll see you next time. Bye.